Welcome to Oops, Orgasm Oracle podcast show, where we talk everything pleasure, sex, and intersectionality. I'm Nadia. My pronouns are she, they. I'm queer in every sense, a slut, witch, and priestess. I'm an orgasm empowerment coach that's here to change your life by expanding your view on pleasure and guide you to how orgasm can be for healing and enlightenment. I recognize my privilege in my white body, and intersectionality is integral to my work. You can only heal yourself so far if you're not working to uplift the marginalized collective. Knowing this, I also fuck up, and I'm here for the compassionate, hard conversations. This podcast is to ignite expansion through education, exploration, sharing personal experiences, and radical, often shocking honesty. Many of the topics discussed are intense, and it's normal to feel triggered or have personal trauma surface. I'm always here to reach out to if this is the case, or please seek out a qualified trauma therapist. I hope you enjoy this podcast, and most of all, I hope you learn something that you can take practically into your life or feel more validated in your personal experience. And please, please share, because every woman and vulva-bodied being deserves to have pleasure in their life and reclaim it. Because if you can't fuck yourself, how the hell are you going to fuck somebody else? Let's get to the episode. Hello, it's Nadia here, your queer slutty witch priestess. And this is the first episode, and this is called the Orgasm Oracle podcast. So I'm going to chat with you today about orgasm. Woohoo! So if you know my work at all, you'll know that my whole goal in life is to expand your concept of orgasm, right? Like, I'm trying to get you away from what you know about orgasm. I'm trying to expand it far and wide, and I'm trying to get you into your most pleasurable orgasmic life. And I really thoroughly believe that orgasm is the key to empowerment, and reclaiming our power is the key to thriving in this world, thriving sexually, thriving as women and vulva-bodied beings and queer people. When we take back that power and that pleasure for ourselves that we've been told we're not allowed to have it, where we've been ripped it from us, we're only allowed to have it in the capacity of someone else, cis hetero men, patriarchy, right? When we reclaim that, the world is going to change for the better. And intersectionality weaves all through that. And this is what this podcast is really about. But I want to talk specifically about orgasm. This is the first episode because I want to clarify like what the hell I'm talking about when I talk about orgasm, what I'm trying to change, and yeah, just give some more understanding here. So, what the hell is orgasm? There's technical definitions. So I even like typed it into Google, and the first definition I found, oh my God, I got to try and read this without puking. A climax of sexual excitement characterized by feelings of pleasure centered in the genitals and, in brackets, in men, experienced as an accompaniment to ejaculation. Oh my gosh, how specifically, like, how many people does that leave out in pleasure, right? Okay, let's let's keep going here before I rage. So the next one here that I found, I typed in female orgasm, and I found this definition. I don't know, am I allowed to like talk shit about brands or whatever? I found it on 17 magazine. So that just makes me especially sad because teenagers are reading this. Ugh. Anyway, an orgasm is a physical reflex brought on through sexual stimulation, most commonly that of the clitoris, which is the most sensitive organ in the vagina. It literally says that in the vagina. So first of all, your clitoris is not in your vagina. Oh my gosh, I need to like write to them. Maybe they'll like feature me on an article. So anyways, okay, so the first one shows like inherently that orgasm is compared against the male body parts or penis body parts, right? So not all men have penises. That's why I'm clarifying that way. So the penis, right, it gets erect and there's a buildup and then it ejaculates. But not all penises do that. First of all, let's clarify this. And in men, not all men experience ejaculation that way. I mean, it's just like now the woke world. If you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, she's talking like about more than men and women. I mean, stay here, hopefully, because you'll learn a lot and you'll learn the world is a lot broader than your little box might be. And it will benefit your pleasure. I swear to you, I will bet money on it. I will promise you, it will benefit your pleasure and your life to expand your concept of sexuality, of sex, of gender, of all these things. So it just really goes to show that really like the Western kind of secluded definition of like the centralized definition against the penis, right? And how the penis physiologically reacts, right? But it doesn't talk about, it just says sexual excitement. Oh, it does say feelings of pleasure. Okay, whatever. Centered in the genitals. Not all orgasms are centered in the genitals. Okay, let's just like clarify that. There's tons of types of orgasms. So yeah, and like a lot of people then start to identify with like asexuality and things like this because like they don't fit into that box. So they feel like they fit nowhere, right? Like our sexuality can be so broad and we can totally be asexual as well, right? And asexuality has its own very specific way of being, right? Like we all have an authenticity, and this is my main point. So then we're going to the female one, or vulva-bodied beings. And this is really, first of all, you need to Google clitoris and where it is because it's not inside the vagina. The vagina is like the canal between the cervix and the opening or vulva. And I mean, the clitoris does like go down the front of the vulva, and it actually goes back as well. That's like where the spongy material is, material tissue is that like gets the ejaculation fluid and builds that and such. So that's what they say, like the G spot. This is the thing too, like with female anatomy, because it's so controversial in how it's researched, it's not researched very well. Like, what is the clitoris exactly? Why is it the G spot? I mean, my understanding is that the G spot is a part of the clitoris. It's just, like that upper part of the vaginal canal, and you're stimulating, that's all kind of part of the stimulation of the clitoris. The vaginal canal in general has a little bit less like nerve endings in it because giving birth, you want to feel a little less. But there's still a lot of ways to find sensitivity in your vagina and orgasms and all this fun stuff. So the point is there's this kind of Western definition, like Western scientific, that was studied by Masters and Johnson, who were watching other people have sex, and like then they filled out questionnaires and then they started having sex with each other. And because it was such like a new and controversial study, they got the definition, like they chose it. So, sorry, I'm going to take a sip here. It is so toxic because it is just compared to the cis male experience, right? Like I'm saying, we all have authentic ways of experiencing orgasm and experiencing pleasure, and that's what I really care about. So then I feel like this female orgasm definition that they're talking about is mostly this clitoral orgasm. So if you're stimulating the clitoris, often it goes this way, where you peak kind of in pleasure and then you expel energy, or you kind of get a peak excitement and then you expel your pleasure, or like have a release or surrender sometimes. And then there's like a physical pulsation in the pelvic floor. Often they say like 10 to 15 pulses of pulsations, but then, when people read that, they're like, okay, like I had 1 pulse or 3 or 20, like, what's wrong with me? Nothing is wrong with you. The only thing wrong with you is you're reading these very limited definitions and you're not exploring your own authenticity, which is what I really care about. So yeah, that's why it's super toxic. And it's interesting because in Taoism as well, so you'll hear me talk a lot about Taoism and tantra in this podcast. And as we go, you'll kind of get more insight about these things. But in Taoism, and then also actually apparently some Western sex philosophers or researchers, they also call it the clitoral orgasm an immature orgasm. Now, all orgasms are fabulous in my book. They are all amazing. I never want to take female pleasure away from them. It is super important to me that everyone gets access to pleasure and they don't have these labels of like immature or bad. Now, in Taoism, I don't exactly understand. In my research, the Western kind of philosophers who call it immature, to me, that's just shaming. It's just shaming straight out. And sometimes it's like a man is like, oh, she can only have a clitoral orgasm. Or it's like based on their ego, like how many orgasms they can give someone, or if they can make someone squirt, or what the hell ever. It's just toxic to call someone having an immature orgasm. When I tell you the tantric definition of orgasm, you're going to see there's like much more broad spectrum. But for the sake of clearing shit up, the clitoral orgasm in Taoism talks about it's immature in a sense of you're giving away your energy. So it doesn't matter your body parts, but I'm not going to say we all experience things differently, but a lot of us have had the experience where you have this type of orgasm, the like build up and release and maybe the pulses, and then you feel really tired and you want to go to sleep. Or like a lot of us jerk off before bed. I do it. Okay. Like I try to, I'll explain my own situation in a bit. But we all do it, right? And it feels great and it puts us to sleep and blah, blah, blah. So in Taoism, it's all about energy, and sex magic is all about energy. And the physics and properties of energy is that you don't want to give away your energy. So there's theories in Taoism, especially with women and vulva-bodied beings. They don't really talk about multiple genders in their like more ancient stuff, or even in their new stuff. Like Mantak Chia I haven't heard him talk about multiple genders and such. But Layla Martin does, which is awesome. She's my main teacher, and she's very evolved, so love that. Anyway, I'm very ranty. You'll get to know this. So the clitoral orgasm and the like typical male ejaculation orgasm and then like falling asleep after. So the idea is that like you're giving away all your energy, and we actually need our energy to recycle in us to energize us. So between your belly button and your pubic bone, they call it your low dantian in Taoism. I can't show you because I'm not wearing pants. And this is where your sexual energy is stored. And your sexual energy is not just like for sex. It's for so many things. It's for making babies. It's for like getting that job, like nailing that job interview. It's for like when you go to the club, you want to dance. It's for that hard hike you're trying to do. It's your energizer, like it's your vitality, it's your oomph in life, right? So they're saying in Taoism that these types of orgasms give away your energy. And the theory when it comes into like patriarchy and such too, so cis hetero men specifically, but cis men also, like it's set up for society, patriarchy is set up for cis men, or like cis men passing, right? These kinds of things. Society set up for them, so they actually regenerate their energy pretty easily and often and constantly. So they're always getting energy back to them because society's like set up for them, right? So women and vulva body beings and other genders, their energy is constantly being stolen from them, or they're constantly being exhausted because they have to live in a society not made for them. So okay, if you're a cis male and you're jerking off all the time to go to sleep, okay, yeah, whatever, it's not the end of the world. But like, don't you want to be energized from your sexual energy? Don't you want to like feel empowered and like be able to like take on a project? I mean, our society is completely has exhaustion issues, right? I mean, I have chronic fatigue syndrome. My mitochondrial have been proven not to function properly. So like I just have like a physiological condition where like I don't have energy. But in general, you know, everyone needs coffee to wake up in the morning. Everyone's exhausted from their jobs and all these things, right? So changing into the other types of orgasms using sex magic can help you replenish your energy and use that sexual energy for whatever you want to use it for. You know, those trying to get pregnant, right? Like if you're exhausted already and you're trying to get pregnant, well, what if like I know people who use sex magic in order to get pregnant because to bring more energy there. So that babies don't get released or whatever, right? So I hope you're kind of getting my point. That's kind of why they call it the immature orgasm. I'm not against any types of orgasms. I want to make that clear, but yeah, like you can learn to use your sexual energy to energize you as opposed to just giving it away. And it is especially important for genders that are not cis males and, you know, for queer people, BIPOC people, for marginalized communities. It is especially important to use your sexual energy to fucking thrive in this world, right? So the other thing I don't love about clitoral orgasms is, and I'll say clitoral orgasms, and I also like clitoral orgasms are equal to like the penile orgasms, in my opinion, like this ejaculation orgasm. Um, you'll see more, you'll see more details in a minute. This podcast is geared towards women and vulva body beings, but not all women have vulvas. And so I want to talk about the different body parts. And if you're a cis male listening to this, yay, because you can be a better advocate for yourself and for your lovers. Yeah, if you're not a gay male, I guess. But in general, it is great to know this knowledge and it's transferable, is my point. Okay, so clitoral orgasms. The thing is like, I guess I'll briefly touch on vibrators here. Again, I'm not against vibrators. I think giving pleasure to anyone is amazing, but when we centralize so much on the clitoris, and especially the head of the clitoris is so much bigger than just like Google clitoris. Don't necessarily Google flesh clitoris because just the actual organ dried up itself is a little creepy. But I don't know, if you like body parts, it might be interesting. Anyway, because it's also very hard to extract a clitoris because it has like tons of nerve system connection and the actual flesh of it. It's confusing. Where does it stop and end? Anyways, it's interesting. Google it. So when we just focus on the head of the clitoris, that's typically where we put the vibrator as well. And we're so focused on this spot, right? We're so focused on the penis and gripping it. Porn, you get like death grip and you start like squeezing it quite a lot. Death grip is like equal to constantly using vibrators on your clitoris. And this is centralizing your pleasure. Okay, it's bringing your like it says in one of these definitions, genitals, right? Centered in the genitals. There are so many types of orgasms, and if you're so centric on just that one spot, I mean, think of it like this. If I'm only ever having nipple orgasms, I have no other orgasms. I just stimulate my nipples. I don't stimulate anything else. I'm just like obsessed with my nipples and my nipple orgasms, and they feel the best. And I'm just only doing that. Then, like, it's going to centralize your pleasure and not expand it. Right. So my work is all about encouraging you to expand your pleasure. Tantra is all about expanding your human experience, right? Like there can be pleasure in every single type of emotion. There can be pleasure in anger and sadness and grief. There can be pleasure in ecstasy, playfulness, happiness, right? Where can you expand your pleasure to if you were never told that like this is how you orgasm and you should do it this way, and it seems to be the straight path to orgasm and feeling good? Imagine like you were told from childhood that you should experience pleasure in as many ways as possible. It's like eating one food for the rest of your life. Okay, like yeah, it's great. I remember I remember when I lived in Nepal for a while and they eat dal bhat. It's lentils and rice every single day. And one of my friends there, she was going to visit America, and she's like, honestly, the thing I'm most scared about is I won't have my dal bhat 3 times a day every day. I'm like, try some new foods. Like imagine you never leave your city your whole life. A lot of people never do it. They love their city. They live in a great city. You have to be very privileged actually to go outside your city, to travel and these kinds of things. Great. You're having all these great clitoral orgasms. Amazing. I'm so happy for you. But, and privilege also, like disability, these kinds of things. You have to be privileged to be able to expand your pleasure, privileged to expand your pleasure. And we live in so much trauma in our body. So to be able to access other parts of our body in safety is privilege. Like it is privilege to do this work. So that's why I like to relate it to kind of traveling, or like eating different foods, right? It's a privilege not to eat the same thing every single day, 3 times a day, right? But imagine all the flavors out there. Imagine all the different cultures and languages and things you can learn when you go outside, right? So it's all about expanding your pleasure. So the next thing I like to talk about is the orgasm gap. So because I don't believe orgasm is just this, I don't like the basis of the orgasm gap, okay? Like I'm against it. So the concept of the orgasm gap is that men are having all these orgasms and women are not. First of all, that doesn't include queer people, people with other genitals and whatever else. It doesn't include those people. So I will scrap it right away. 1 second here. Drinking my coffee. Speaking of being tired. um, so it's not inclusive. The concept is about heterosexual sex, P&V sex, penis and vagina sex, and it's all about, men are having all these ejaculations and women are not. I mean, like, how can you measure that? Okay. First of all, I believe that because men are so centric on that specific type of like ejaculatory orgasm, yes, they might be having more of those. But because they're so centric on it and think they orgasm so easily, they're missing all the other orgasms, which, in my experience as a sex coach and orgasm empowerment coach, women and vulva body beings actually have more capacity to easily kind of flow between the other types of orgasms. But I will tell you, I have taken male lovers, male penis bodied lovers, to these new heights of all different types of orgasms and without ejaculation. And let me tell you, they can do it. And their pleasure is so much more expanded because of it. So, my opinion is because they're so like focused on that type of orgasm, is why seemingly this orgasm gap is happening. But women indulge in pleasure just much differently. I had this conversation recently with someone just about like being loud during sex. Like, women are more in heterosexual sex I'm talking about here. Women are typically more encouraged to be loud, right? Versus men kind of have to be like this, like, I don't know, quiet, like her, I don't know, tiger. I don't know, right? Like, how many men have you slept with and they're like screaming and panting? Like, me is probably, one. I had this freaky sex with this guy who looked like Bruce Willis, and yeah, whatever. Those are my sugar daddy days, sugar baby days. Anyway, he was crazy. But you know what? In hindsight, he was actually doing the right things. He was having pretty tantric sex. Oh my God. I hope I get to tell that story one day. It'll be in my book, Memoirs of a Traveling Slut. Anyway, so this is the thing, right? Like, actually, women are a bit more encouraged to like be loud and such. So opening that throat chakra and stuff. Ironically, in society, we're not encouraged to be loud. But yeah, you know. So, and like every report card I ever had said Nadia talks too much. And look at me now. I talk for a living. So and my work is all about not shutting up and getting louder. So I'll talk about getting louder in a second. Anyway, the orgasm gap. I'm kind of like, throw these fucking headlines in the garbage. Throw them in the fucking garbage. Write to 17 magazines, say fuck you, because like, seriously, like, it's so toxic that we're so obsessed with this like definition of stuff. And this is the thing too, like, so I live in a world where like science is completely true, God and magic is completely true, and I live and flow between all of that. And yeah, so I live in that world, but a lot of people live in one or the other, right? And they're so restricted and they won't go outside of it. And we can't save everyone, but if you're listening to this podcast, hopefully you're trying to be more expanded and flow between. All the work that I do like has Western science backing, except maybe like the properties of crystals and jade egg, but part of jade egg like totally does have Western science behind it. So my point is, expand past these fucking headlines. Like, what is authentic to you and what is exploring pleasure to you? So now I'm going to get into the definition of tantric orgasm. This is it here. Okay. Listen up. Turn up the volume. So what is the tantric definition of orgasm? Like, what is orgasm in my work? What is actually orgasm, if I can be so not humble or whatever? There's 3 phases, okay? The first phase is sensation, typically pleasure, okay? So pain can be pleasure. There's all types of sensation that may not be pleasure per se. but typically pleasure, because that's kind of what we're trying to focus on and expand. Someone who lives in chronic pain, me, and sometimes my pain, like fibromyalgia, it's really interesting because pain might be like chronic at like a certain level, but then it might like really heighten for a period of time. And now, like, I really try to like be in pleasure in my pain. Like, I try to find pleasure in pain. I'm also getting quite into BDSM. So sensation, like, let it be whatever you want. And that's the main point about everything. What is sensation to you? And that's what I care about. Okay. Oh, I'm having a deja vu, and I had a dream of this exact moment. So this is really cool. Anyway, sex magic, manifestation. Woo! Sorry. Okay, I had to make that side note. I have ADD too. Okay. So the next one is number 2. So number 1 is sensation, typically pleasure. Number 2 is expansion and movement, okay? Or like heightening. So say I'm feeling pleasure in my clitoris and then I move it to my nipples. Say I'm having pleasure in my clitoris and I'm moving it to my nipples and it's in my clitoris and nipples. Say I'm, just for the sake of ease, I'm in my clitoris in pleasure and I heighten it, I expand that pleasure. So it's either like expanding it, moving it somewhere. If you ever learn microcosmic orbit, which we'll definitely talk about, and if you sign up for my email list, I think that's the first like freebie on it, is a microcosmic orbit download. So do it. Sign up for my email list. There's lots of juicy shit in there. So you can move energy, you can move sexual energy. This is one of the most juicy ways to expand your orgasm, is sex magic. So yeah, sex magic is all about like moving energy and sexual energy. So expansion and movement, okay? So this is another point. You are already orgasming in this. If you focus into sensation, and then you like expand and move it, woo, like I'm already, you can probably see it if you're watching this on YouTube, or maybe you can like feel the energy, like, ooh, I can feel orgasmic energy already flowing, right? You can see, like, that's probably how you found me, is because like my orgasmic energy, I don't just use it for myself, I externally use it to suck you in and attract you. That's what my clients, that's why they signed up with me. Like, this is the thing, it makes your pussy magnetic, it makes you magnetic, if you want to externalize it, but you can also just like keep it in for yourself and be hedonist, and it's amazing. Okay. And this is the thing too, in this work, in orgasm work, you learn to choose what you do with everything. And I'll get to that in a little bit. So the third is mind shift. So this is kind of the heightened of orgasm. So if you've ever had sex where like you get like mind fucked, like you get like stupid, like sometimes like I'll have a really wild sexual experience and then I'll be like laying there, and then especially when I'm with a male partner, they love to just like get up and take a shower and then come back. I think it's like a religious thing. I don't know. Like I have another lover who loves to just like relish in the juices, and like never doesn't shower all day after. That's a little more my style, but anyway. The point is, they come back and they're like asking me all these fucking questions, like, how was it and whatever the fuck, and I'm just like, don't ask me questions right now, I literally can't answer. I can't even like use my legs right now, like I can't use my brain, like there's no blood there. Like I had mind shift, I was, yeah. So mind shift is also the point of mind shift is to get out of your brain and into your body. So we have 3 layers of our brain. We have the cortex, which is the thinker. We have the limbic, which is the heart and emotions. And then we have the primal, which is like this, where sex lives, like where our sexuality lives. And this is why, like, not nurturing your sacred sexuality, you're actually missing like a huge part of yourself. A lot of trauma lives in that part of the nervous system in the brain. That's why, we go to like CBT therapy and we like tell our therapist like all the shit that's happened to us in our life. We're still not cured. And, so because we're so stuck in our cortex, we're not liberating it from our actual nervous system, from this system. And mind shift is really the goal of orgasm in tantra. And the idea is when you reach there, you can do witchy shit. So you can work with enlightenment, which is super cool because you can have religious experiences and shit. I mean, of course, like patriarchal religion was like built off of this. Like, witches were like, hey, like I'm having a religious experience. And it's like, oh, no, you're not, because you're not a white male priest. And therefore, I'm burning you on the stake, like religious experiences and like religious advice was like for, not for the masses, right? It was for controlling people. And anyone who having those out loud burns at the stake. And, I mean, Jesus, like that was his whole thing, right? He was probably having tantric religious experience, mind shift sex, and started telling people about it. And what happens when you take psilocybin or like MDMA? What do you realize if you've ever done that? If not, I'm spoiler alert. You figure out, oh, the universe is love and peace and forgiveness, and that's all I care about in life. Yeah, that's the path to enlightenment, and that's like was Jesus's messages, wasn't it? I don't know. I'm not that religion, but but yeah, like that's the basis of religion, right? So like obviously they were just having great sex and like realized it, or like took some mushrooms, which like kind of gives you the same experiences. That's also why I'm not like I'm sober now for like a year and a half, and I'm sure I'll talk about that on one of my podcasts. But I'm not really sold on these drug experiences, which I'm not against drugs. I think they are incredible healers. I think they bring what, this is hard work to kind of induce it yourself through orgasm. And I'm patenting it here. You heard it here first. This is like where my work is leading, is to really kind of teach people to go and use orgasm for whatever the fuck you want to use it for good only. I mean, you can't use orgasm for bad. It's impossible anyway. So this idea that like people tell me about their ayahuasca experiences and such, and I'm like, well, I have all those with orgasm in my own like choice and capacity, and I can be as surrendered as I want or whatever, right? So that goes into healing, right? Healing, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, like this is where trauma lives, like deep in your system. And with orgasm, it's really cool because you can really choose how much you kind of want to surrender and open and how much you don't want to. My best example of this, one of my favorite lovers, we just have had so much beautiful healing experiences together, and he's so open and surrendered to this work, and he creates so much safety and love with me. And one time we were in missionary position, he was on top, because I guess missionary, whatever. Heart to heart is what we what we like to call it now, because missionary is like a religious whatever. So yeah, he was on top of me thrusting, and I was in all this pleasure and safety and love, and I literally had a whole memory, like a PTSD memory experience of a rape that happened to me. And in that moment, I could decide, okay, do I want to let this experience flow through me? And can I handle it right now? Should I get rid of this experience or what? And I was like, you know what? I'm in pleasure and safety right now. So I let the experience flow through me. I let my body do what it needed to do in that moment. And wow, that was so fucking healing for me. It repatterned that. The only time I think about that situation since, has been through explaining it like this. So it's one of my like most clear moments of like orgasm for healing. But in general, like if you've heard of the stress cycles, you know, you need to shake your body and such to like finish your stress cycles. Like that is sex, right? Like sex is voice, breath, movement. Those things bring you down into your primal, and then you can alleviate or liberate them through sex, right? So orgasm can be used for so much fucking healing. And this is what my coaching is all about, especially the one-on-one. Like we create all this safety and this container of love and empowerment for you to then bring you into healing orgasm, and also you being able to use it in your own life, right? No, I'm not having sex with anyone or anything like that, and cameras are turned away, it's over Zoom. So a lot of people think like sex coaching is like, okay, so no, now you like flip over and then like, oh yeah, right there. Okay, now, yeah, no, it's not anything like that. It's about finding your empowerment in your authentic pleasure and your authentic orgasm. And how can we that I bring you, you know, I guide you into healing and enlightenment, and manifestation is the next point I have on here. How, you know, this space when you're in mind shift and you're so open, you can really open channels, all kinds of things can come. You can call things in, you can let whatever is desiring to like be there just like come in. So yeah, it's super amazing. Yeah, and like this is the point of tantra, is expanding your pleasure, expanding yourself as a human experience. Now there's left-handed and right-handed tantra, and right-handed tantra is like not sexual at all. Actually, those I've been heard those people kind of get mad that like tantra has this like tantric sex, I don't know, thing, like it's publicity or whatever. It's quite still quite patriarchal, right? And you know, it's based on not empowering women, to my understanding. Okay, like what everything can be empowering in its own way, but not sexually empowering. Let's put it that way. So then there's left-handed tantra, which is more about the goddess and how the goddess is within all of us and how we like can find the goddess, and you know, all these things. So then I guess let's take a little moment. Let's do like a 1-minute meditation here. And so if you're driving, pull over if you want to do this, or do it later, or just listen to it and do it with yourself later. But yeah, so to almost wrap this up here, we're going to do a little meditation, and then I'm just going to talk about the best way to reach all this shit. Okay, so just get comfy for a second. It will be 1 minute, I swear. And take a few deep breaths just to ground in, feeling your sit bones on whatever it may be. Feeling that hug of gravity holding you to the earth. And if you like, you can also put one hand over your heart and one hand over womb space, or wherever you would like to put your hands in this moment. And as you take a few deep breaths, think of each breath going deeper into your abdominal cavity, reaching down to your genitals, down to that womb space, maybe cervix, whatever your genitals may be. And then talking to your genitals, asking them, what might orgasm be to me, beyond from what, maybe talking to like your clitoris directly, beyond from how you know it, what else might it be? So just asking your clitoris or your main pleasure center, what might orgasm be to me beyond how I know it? I'm just going to give you 30 seconds to sit with that. Amazing. So I really invite you to write down whatever was said there. Maybe nothing was said. Maybe this is something completely new to you, and that's fine because your brain is probably thinking. So the idea is I've hopefully kind of opened up a little more. Mine said gratitude orgasms because I told myself I'd be doing gratitudes every day, and I'm not doing it. I'm just gonna be honest. I need to do it more though, because when I'm in like I have Lyme disease and chronic illness issues, and when I'm in my like bad days, I completely forget everything that's good in my life. So yeah, the best way to expand your orgasm. You want to hear it? You heard it here. Self-pleasure, baby. Because if you can't fuck yourself, how the hell are you gonna fuck someone else? Okay, seriously, or let someone else fuck you, or feel pleasure by someone else fucking you, right? Self-pleasure, it's so fucking important. Like, put the TV show away, lock your doors and windows, set some mood lighting. Careful with the candles though. Careful on scented candles, that they're not from like Bath and Body Works or something. That you don't want toxins in your air when you're doing this stuff. Put your vibrator away. Use your hands or like crystal dildo shit. Nothing that does the job really for you. And just like, what happens when you take 30 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour to dedicate to expanding your pleasure? What happens? Like, play some music, set some like senses around you that are most pleasurable. Warn your roommates, warn your kids, and just like set a few minutes aside for you to just indulge in pleasure and just see wherever it leads you, and see how you can expand it beyond. Don't have the goal of orgasm. Get away from that. Just see whatever comes organically. Maybe fucking nothing comes. Maybe trauma comes. Maybe anger comes. Can you find pleasure in that anger? Maybe frustration comes. So in those moments, can you just sit with yourself with compassion instead of pleasure for a minute? Like, compassion is typically the first thing you have to work on before you can really be in full pleasure. So yeah, that is my main advice about orgasm. That's what the fuck I'm going to be talking about and referring to this whole series. And yeah, I just really want fucking orgasms for everyone, man. Like, I just want everyone, especially women and vulva body beings and queer people and non-cis people to fucking be in their pleasure and use it for empowerment in their lives. Use it to fuel your life, because it's absolutely healed me. It's absolutely my journey, and pleasure heals, man. It fucking heals, and it's going to heal the world. And if we invest more in this, it trickles out. It is that ripple in the water. And like I say, you can only go so far with your own healing, your own pleasure, until you need to start, doing it for marginalized communities in your community. When I bring people into full body orgasm time and time again, there's a point where then they reach where they're not just feeling the weight of their own shit, they're feeling everyone's, and this is what this podcast is really about, that intersectionality piece. It's about all the marginalized people, and it's about cis white men too. Like, honestly, like, they will, when they start to benefit from this, then they will start to change, and our systems will start to change, and capitalism will start to change, and all these things, right? Because they have to fit in a box as well. And when they get to be more their authentic selves, I can guarantee everything will be in more balance. That's kind of the theory of this shit. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Please comment and slide into my DMs and hit me up. So much love to you. So much fucking gratitude. And so much gratitude to your body and being here and this pleasure. And let's do it. Let's do it. Let's change the world with orgasm. Let's expand our pleasure into sexual thriving. And mwah. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please like and rate. It really helps get this life-changing information into as many ears as possible. And please slide into my DMs or reach out through my website anytime. Thanks for listening. Much love and gratitude. Signing off, Nadia. Mwah.